There is a call coming from inside the house, and it's someone telling you to cope harder. Some people in the Sims community are having a really hard time coming to terms with the reality of EA's sale to Saudi Arabia and the Trump family. And when I tell you the number of excuses, the buts, the whataboutisms, the mental gymnastics, the reaches, the overall cope that I've witnessed from Sims players and Sims content creators over the last few days, wow. No amount of time on Sims Twitter could have prepared me for this. It's actually beyond. In my last video, I talked about how we as consumers need to reconcile with the fact that next year, when this EA deal goes through, any and all money you spend on EA products will be going to a government that engages in human rights abuses. And in the last week since the buyout was announced, I've seen so many people saying, I quit. I cannot play The Sims 4, I cannot support EA as a company anymore, I'm boycotting. But I've also seen a whole lot of excuses from people saying, but you live in a society, so...
You know, we're living in a society!
To others saying, well, what about your iPhone? You know, some bad things happened when they made it, so that means we're all terrible people anyway, so it doesn't really matter.
Right.
To others who are just saying, I don't care. I'm gonna keep supporting The Sims and EA as a company. They literally did say death to all of you. Well, not everyone, but I got a few comments on my last video from people complaining that I was being too political. And I just want to be clear that human rights abuses is not politics. As a matter of fact, I believe that if you remove the investors from this equation, this EA deal is still one of the worst things to ever happen to video games, period. If you guys remember a couple years ago, there was this huge uproar when Microsoft announced that it was buying Activision Blizzard for like $68 billion. Rightfully so, a lot of people were concerned about this mega corporation acquiring a game studio. We have enough giant corporations controlling literally everything in the world. We don't need another one. But looking back, maybe that deal wasn't as bad, because in comparison, this EA buyout is way worse. At least Microsoft was a publicly traded tech company with decades of experience in the video game industry. Obviously, they make Xbox, and they've been producing video games since like the 70s or 80s. But when it comes to this deal, we're literally seeing one of the largest video game companies in the world being taken private by a foreign government, a family of billionaires who literally run the US government, and a private equity firm. It can't get much worse than this. There are no checks and balances, there are no shareholders to answer to. These three entities are in control of this entire company. It's bad for video games, it's bad for players, and that's before you even consider who exactly is buying this company. As we know, Saudi Arabia is the primary investor in the EA buyout. The source told CNBC that the Saudi government will, quote, by far be the majority investor in the new structure. They already own 10% of EA, but in 6 to 9 months when the deal goes through, these investors will own everything, 100%. And the worst part is, any money you give them will be used to support systemic hate, bigotry, and literal murder. It's also really important to note here, if this were just a Saudi company that was not owned by the government, this would be a completely different story. The problem literally is that the PIF is owned and controlled by the leader of this authoritarian regime. So needless to say, this has been a very tough pill for people in the Sims community to swallow.
There is this whole movement in the Sims community of, we need to boycott The Sims right now, and every Sims YouTuber needs to quit their channel right now. And I'm seeing like all this crazy stuff going on. There is no such thing as ethical consumption. Are you watching this video on a phone right now? Some child in a third world country probably in a mine explosion so that they could mine something to build the phone that you're watching me on right now. Congratulations, you child.
I want to start here because I've seen a lot of people echoing the same sentiment. The whole there's no ethical consumption under capitalism rebuttal. So let's go with Satch's example of a phone. Say you go to the store and you want to buy an iPhone. During the production of the iPhone, are there exploitative and unethical labor practices occurring? Absolutely. Just like there are with pretty much every product you consume and use on a daily basis. But when you actually go out and buy the iPhone, who's really getting your money? Does Apple get everything? Well, no, they're a public company with investors all over the world. Apple literally has thousands of investors who are all profiting off of your purchase. So the difference is, we don't know every single company or country or entity that is profiting off of the purchases we make. That information is not readily available to us as consumers. But with the sale of EA, we know exactly where our money is going because there are only 3 options. The Saudi government is fronting nearly all the money for this deal. They're the primary investor. Your money is going to them. End of story. So unlike your iPhone purchase, with EA and its products, you know exactly where your money is going and most importantly, the deplorable things it is contributing to.
You don't feel guilty for using technology just like you don't feel guilty for heating your home using a car. You don't feel guilty about using makeup, animal products, beauty products.
Please let's stop with the bullshit excuses and the whataboutisms and the false equivalencies. I'm pretty sure we're all aware that video games are not as essential as something like a phone or food or clothes or heating your home. You do not need video games to get by. They're purely for entertainment value. There are dozens of people and creators who have been trying really hard to prove that this deal isn't that bad and that we're all unethical anyway because we're living under capitalism. So it doesn't really matter and you should just keep buying everything EA puts out.
It is exhausting to try and be a perfectly virtuous person in a world where everything is unethical. Every single business CEO of every single big company is a psychopath, an evil psychopath.
Whatever you need to tell yourself to make you feel better. Last year, the Human Rights Watch published a 95-page document outlining the endless abuses that the PIF has facilitated and benefited from. And recently, a spokesperson for the Human Rights Watch commented on the sale of EA to Saudi, saying, and I quote, "We see this as a deliberate attempt to distract from the country's human rights abuses." If you really have to rationalize this situation by saying, well, 0.5% of the purchase of this granola bar contributes to exploitation somewhere in the world, so this EA thing doesn't really matter anyway. Go off, Queen. You guys know how they say the first stage of grief is denial? But for me and others, there's no uncertainty here. I've actually seen several people all over the internet trying to reconcile this situation in their minds and make up excuses. A few people in my comments were saying things like, well, you put gas in your car, that goes to Saudi Arabia. First of all, how dare you? Your boy doesn't even own a car. How do you think my ass got this fat? I've been walking up and down these hills every day. But I'm imagining if I did. When I go to the gas station, it does not tell me at the pump where the crude oil used to produce this gasoline is sourced from or what country or company it's enriching. This gasoline could come from Texas, Norway, Mexico, Canada, or Saudi Arabia, or hell, maybe a combination of all of those. And we also don't know what percentage of this sale is going to support which company or government. That information is not clear to us as consumers. Does that mean the entire process behind the gasoline's production is ethical? Of course not. But when we have the knowledge, as we do in this case, and we know exactly where all of our money is going, not 1%, not 10%, 100% of it, then that knowledge gives us the ability to make ethical decisions and to vote with our wallets. Look, part of what is so troubling about this EA deal is that it's so apparent what is happening, and it hits harder for us as players and consumers when we know exactly what we're supporting when we buy something. And with the sale of EA, there is no doubt about where our money is going.
This is the Saudis taking control of EA.
And this is why these, well, what about your phone arguments are so irrelevant. It is not the same thing, and anybody telling you differently really needs to hop off at Copium Station.
It's only just like a small minority of simmers that are turning this into a really toxic thing.
I'm sure it is terrifying for these content creators to come to terms with the reality of this situation and who and what they'll be supporting when they promote this game and influence their viewers to buy it. I had a few Sims content creators comment on my last video. Some of them were very defensive and very angry. I too would be conflicted if my entire channel were about playing The Sims 4, especially if I did it full time and I relied on this for my income. It's a predicament.
But to say to YouTubers or creators or anybody who plays The Sims 4 in general that they need to quit is pretty dramatic and dumb.
And I certainly am not telling anyone what they can or cannot do. That is up to you. However, what I am saying is that if you're a Sims content creator, especially one that's hyping up DLC after DLC and profiting off of EA sales with your creator code, you will have to deal with the backlash and the consequences of that decision. Whether you decide to pivot or stop playing The Sims altogether or keep playing like nothing's happening, there will be repercussions beyond your Sims channel, and it should weigh on your conscience. Just a couple days ago, a Sims 4 YouTuber in the EA Creator Network, Devin Bumpkin, announced that he's leaving the creator program due to this buyout, and he urged his viewers to stop using his creator code. In a community post, he said, "With the new ownership and everything that comes with it, I don't feel comfortable continuing to financially promote the company through my code. This all comes from a place of honesty and alignment with my values." I don't think it's dumb at all to question what your purchases are supporting. I think it actually shows intelligence when people look into where their money's going when they buy something, and it's respectable when people take action and vote with their wallets. Not everybody cares enough to do that, so we shouldn't be shading people for doing that. It doesn't mean you think you're better than other people or morally superior. It just means you made the decision that works best for you. So yeah, I have to be honest and say I'm very disappointed with Satch on Sims' reaction here, especially with Satch being a gay man. To use false equivalencies and whataboutism to try to minimize the disturbing reality of this situation is really missing the mark. And yeah, there's room for everyone to make mistakes, sure, but I personally cannot ignore a content creator using deflection or just dismissing these concerns like he's doing here. Because to me, that is a flagrant dereliction of your responsibilities as a content creator. I don't like saying this. I actually like Satch. He is one of the only Sims 4 content creators who's ever been kind to me. I sympathize with him as someone who has also been treated like absolute garbage by some people in the Sims community. I really admire that he's one of the only ones who's actually being honest about the state of the game. He's not afraid to tell it like it is. He doesn't sugarcoat it. But I also do not agree with this take at all. To be completely honest, compared to what Lil Simsy said, this is way worse. Speaking of Lil Simsy, she addressed the topic of the buyout again in a live stream a few days ago. In the live, a commenter actually asked her if continuing to play The Sims means she is being performative.
The comment is that it's performative to play Sims and like not care about the sale, basically is what people are saying. I care deeply about the sale. Like this is like keeping me up at night. I care deeply about the sale. But I don't want you to think that I'm like being performative and pretending to care about it and then like just turn around playing The Sims. Like the sale is like deeply distressing to me, more than like you could ever know.
I actually really appreciate her candor here. When she says this keeps her up at night, I believe her. And I want to be clear, I never doubted whether her support for the LGBT community was authentic. I truly believe that she does care, but that doesn't mean that she or anyone can also be hypocritical in this situation.
And I understand it's hypocritical. I get it. I'm torn up about it, truly torn up about this. I don't know what to do.
Because that is what we're seeing with a lot of these content creators when their words do not align with their actions. In the live stream, she also goes on to say that it's unfair to expect creators to give a response in 7 days.
It's a tough spot for like both me, but like I think also every Sims creator. I don't think that it's reasonable to expect people, not just me, but like everybody, to pivot their entire content within 7 days. You know, like it's so new. Like no one knows what to do. Right? No one knows what to do.
Now, I agree with this to an extent, but let's be so real. A lot of these people have shown us they do not care about anything other than you clicking on their video and using their creator code at checkout. We have seen some of these creators stay completely silent, while EA has released Broken Pack after Broken Pack and milked the Sims player base to the tune of 100 DLC that cost $1,500. Why are we supposed to be patient with people who clearly do not care? This is actually why I said in my last video that I contemplated whether I wanted to post the video at all, because I wrote the script and I edited a portion of the video, and then I thought maybe this is too soon. Maybe I should hold off on posting this until 6 to 9 months later when the deal actually closes. But I also realized that if we don't talk about this buyout now and have this discussion now, and if I waited and posted the video in 6 to 9 months, a lot of these creators would still be saying nothing and doing nothing, or at most putting putting their hands up and exclaiming, "I don't know what to do."
Help me, I'm poor.
So by having this conversation now, there's no excuse for creators who choose to ignore what's happening in 6 to 9 months when this deal closes. So these people have plenty of time to figure out if they're going to keep beating the dead horse that is The Sims 4 and working for EA as members of the creator network, and whether they will enrich the Saudi government and enable human rights abuses in the process. It is that simple.
Clock that T.
I actually want to give huge props to a Sims creator, Fantasia, who has already done a complete rebranding of her channel and has started playing a variety of different games. Here's what she said in a YouTube post. "If you guys could support me playing some other cozy games here and there on the channel, I would truly appreciate it so much. Posting anything other than The Sims is always a huge risk for my channel, but my gut is telling me to do this." Fantasia here already started the pivot. And by the way, if there's any other content creators watching, creator to creator, cozy games share a lot of the same audience as The Sims. I will say I myself have had quite a bit of success talking about cozy games. I don't do video game sponsorships, but I actually get emails all the time from cozy games wanting to give me money to talk about their games. So if you are a Sims creator looking to pivot, I think what Fantasia is doing is a very smart move. I mean, to be honest, a lot of these Sims creators should have started the pivot years ago because the Sims franchise has been on a steady decline and this buyout is only accelerating that. But yeah, I mean, with cozy games and Paralives coming out soon, there's even more opportunity to switch things up. It's not all doom and gloom. It's not like my entire livelihood is coming to an end. I myself played The Sims 3 for 2 years straight. Sims 3 and literally nothing else. But a year ago, I decided to switch up my content. I completely stopped playing The Sims, and today literally 10 out of my last 30 videos are about The Sims. Everything else is a completely different topic, different genres. I get my bag talking about a lot of different games and topics now. And I'm not bragging, I'm just saying as a content creator, you can escape the hell that is The Sims and have success. But you have to try. You have to take action. So going back to Lil Simsy's stream, I agree with what she's saying here. I just hope that we start seeing her and other Sims influencers doing something and taking that action like Fantasia. So another YouTuber, Gons, also made a video about the EA buyout.
What's happened is that EA has entered into an agreement to be acquired.
Like Lil Simsy, he's also a member of the EA Creator Network, and he himself has been sponsored by EA in the past. About a year ago, he admitted to getting paid for promoting stellar packs like Journey to Batuu and My First Pet Stuff.
It's no secret that my previous Batuu video was a sponsored video. I flagged it as branded content and I put the tags to indicate that EA has indeed paid me for making videos.
That still blows my mind that they gave him cash money to promote those 2 packs.
My First Pet Stuff adds a myriad of cute outfits for—
Or maybe he chose to promote those, I don't know. So like Lil Simsy and other EA partners, he has financial ties to the company that makes this game. I do agree with a lot of what he says in this video. He's mostly just telling us the facts of the deal, but I'm not really sure why so many of these creators keep saying if the deal goes through.
It's important to be clear. Electronic Arts has not been sold yet.
It won't sell until next year, if and when it does sell.
The purchase agreement, the transaction, has already been approved by EA's board of directors. They said this in the press release. And sure, the shareholders have to vote on this deal in the end, but they don't announce these things without near complete certainty. They offered the shareholders a very generous premium on the stock price. These investors overpaid by nearly $15 billion. That is how much they want this company. So yeah, they're paying a premium on the stock price. The shareholders will approve this deal. And I think most people, not just me, but like people who know more about this than I do, are very confident that this deal will go through in 6 to 9 months. I have no doubts about that. And if you think otherwise, maybe it's wishful thinking. But toward the end of this video, things start getting a little weird.
That's why I need to say this clearly. Creators and players who are calling for a boycott right now are only making the situation worse.
Sorry, what? For you or for the players?
Doing it now without facts is acting out of fear and ignorance.
Towards the end of this video, I can sort of feel his emotions coming through, and I can tell that he's very worried as a content creator. When you're a content creator and you only focus on one game, you rely on the success of that game. And when that one game is supplementing your income or providing your entire livelihood, hearing people say, I'm boycotting this game is a threat to you. Because if people aren't actively playing the game, they're not going to tune into your DLC reviews or your Let's Plays or your lore videos for that game. And this concept is terrifying to these content creators, not just Gons, Satch, Lil Simzy, all of them. I know right here he's saying that if The Sims 4 isn't selling well because people boycott it, then the new owners will likely stop working on the game and will lay off employees. And that's true.
Boycotts at this moment would almost certainly contribute to job losses for the very people at EA and Maxis who make these games possible. And now is not the time for that. Once we have clear proof or an official statement about where The Sims is heading, then we can act.
But the Sims community deadass should have boycotted this game 5 years ago. We could have had a Sims 5 by now that's way superior to the Sims 4 if people actually stopped buying this stuff. So I completely disagree. You should be boycotting. Now is the time, better than any, because nothing you do or I do is gonna save this franchise. It's too little too late. Just like that Mary J. Blige song, it's already going down. And if I were working at EA right now, that resume would be updated. I would have my references in order, because no matter which way we cut it, there will be collateral damage. People are gonna lose their jobs regardless. I hate to break it to you. That $20 billion loan they took out for this deal is not gonna pay itself. They're gonna be laying off workers and shutting down studios left and right. But here's what really confuses me. At the beginning of this video, Gon states that he's a member of the LGBTQ community.
I want to be open about who I am, and I came out as bisexual about 3 years ago.
Yet, throughout the video, he completely ignores the elephant in the room, which is that supporting this game once the deal closes means you're supporting a government that commits egregious human rights abuses, particularly against his own community. You can't not acknowledge this. All these people have focused so much on like, will they remove gays from the game?
Some creators, myself included, worried that this new ownership could undo the progress EA has made with diversity and inclusion in games like The Sims. And let me be clear, I will never support a company that refuses to let me express or represent myself fully. That's why I cut ties with Inzoi, and The Sims won't get a pass if it comes to that.
I'm pretty sure we should be more concerned about the real lives of real LGBTQ individuals than the characters in a video game. He says he cares about the employees of EA.
It's awful, and I hate that EA employees are probably anxious about their jobs right now.
But how do you think the LGBTQ employees or the women at EA are grappling with the idea that their work will be enriching an authoritarian regime that executes gay people and imprisons women's rights activists? Where's that concern? An anonymous EA worker told GameFile that, quote, Andrew Wilson basically said F you to all women and LGBTQ employees at EA with this deal. I don't know if Gons deliberately ignored this message in his video. He does tend to glaze The Sims and EA, but if the whole point of your video is to give the facts of the deal.
But I'm here to give you facts and context so we can look at this with perspective without panic, hate, or jumping to conclusions.
You forgot to talk about the most alarming of all those facts, and that's where your money will be going and what it will be supporting after this deal closes. It's really fascinating how uncomfortable people are with the reality of this buyout, downplaying it, getting angry, ignoring, and dismissing the facts altogether. But is this behavior new to the Sims community? Like I said, these are some of the same people who have convinced themselves that this game they've spent $1,500 on is actually worth it. You know, the overpriced, undercooked, lackluster, bugged out mess of a game. If you can convince yourself that any game is worth $1,500, then you can also convince yourself that it's not that bad to keep supporting a game that will be enabling human rights abuses. That is really how intense the cope is in this community. I've seen a few comments here and there where people have been saying, instead of focusing on influencers, I should be focusing all my criticism on the investors. But what am I going to say to the PIF? or Jared Kushner or Andrew Wilson that will make them change their minds. They don't give a damn what I say or any YouTuber says, because they're getting their bag and that's all that concerns them. But with content creators, I believe they can approach the situation with a bit more humanity, and they might be a little bit more willing to listen, unlike the Saudi government or Andrew Wilson. They call them influencers for a reason, you know? They do have a lot of influence. So when a content creator sees their community talking about these important issues like the PIF and what our purchases are supporting, these influencers might reconsider their own stance. And they might take action that in turn encourages their own audience to also take action. And if enough people start doing something, it could actually affect change within EA or change part of this buyout in a way that benefits all of us. Or maybe I just have wishful thinking.
Okay, now you're sounding crazy.
I guess that part is yet to be determined.
Looking so phenomenal, hit me like a kick to my abdominal. I can't shake it. Tell me what you wanna do, baby. Everything you're sweating through, baby. Working like a wave, but you waving hello, kissing all my yesterdays. Goodbye, goodbye.